What's going on, everybody? Philip at Trade Genius. All right, it's time for a bigger picture look at Bitcoin as we are coming out of the halving phase. So we'll take a look at daily and weekly charts. We'll look at the Bitcoin correlation to the stock market. We'll look at our Delta chart. Some things have changed here on the Delta we need to talk about. And then I'm going to look at some long-term levels that really come into play and give you a big picture where the major levels are for Bitcoin going forward from here, and discuss how you can play that. So let's dive into this video.
Trade Genius.
Really quickly, guys, our specials for this month are running, and if you want to get into either the ETF or the crypto rooms, you can just choose one and bundle one or two. Also, if you want to get into the VIP room, that is where Bob and I are calling the markets during the day. We're talking about various markets, various ways to enter the markets via stock and ETFs or binary options or futures. We're doing a lot of the futures, and then we can also talk about crypto in there as well. That's for the year. It gets you VIP access in that room for one whole year for that price, along with all the indicators that come along with our package. So check it out. All right, let's dive into the charts. Weekly chart, guys, very important trend line in play now. This is from our all-time highs, both major peaks in Bitcoin. All right, this is a big-time trend line, going to be respected. Obviously, we came up to it this last in June and rejected pretty hard. I consider that a bearish weekly candle, and you saw some downside follow through on that. Now, we drew this box, and we can actually extend that box out somewhat here. But so really what we want to see is a close ultimately above that box. But what's important here is we want to see a weekly close above this trend line. Now, the week doesn't close until tomorrow at 8 p.m. Eastern. And if we get that close above this trend line, that's going to be a win for the bulls because you're getting a weekly close above that. We call that acceptance. So that's important. If we look on the daily chart, you'll notice that we do have, you'll notice last couple days, it tried to get above it. Today, it's 5 p.m. Eastern. So in 3 hours, if we're still up here, we're going to get a daily acceptance above that trend line. What's important about that is that that's something that hasn't happened, okay? We almost got it here and failed hard. So this is a change of character on the daily. Bulls are definitely winning here on this move up, okay? But again, anything off of this trend line has been met with a pretty severe reaction. So if you're long on Bitcoin, you want to keep an eye on this, okay? Now, you're definitely going to be getting into territory where people are going to want to short Bitcoin up in these levels because why? A lot of times it will raid previous highs. So what I'm talking about is when we get into levels like this here, this high, and this high here. All right, so 97.92, 10,018, this is on Coinbase. Watch for when these levels get approached. A lot of times what you'll see is a move up and then a move back down. And then you can drill down to a smaller time frame. If you get, for example, 15 minutes, if you get a close down inside this in a 15-minute bar, for example, down below this level, you consider that a rejection. You can get short with your stop above the high that rejected. So those are the ways you can play that. And we talk about that stuff in detail during the day in the VIP room and stuff like that. So, but these are two levels I'm definitely eyeing right now. Again, it is bullish for the bulls, but this is Bitcoin. It a lot of times will take out these levels and then reverse pretty hard. So that's what we're watching and staying on our toes. Again, weekly is going to be important. The bulls are definitely going to see the weekly accept above that. So the next 24 hours plus is going to be really important to see how, because I do put a lot of stock in this trend line. The other thing I want to talk about is on the weekly, our formation on our stochastics. And you'll notice too, the RSI is back over 50, which is definitely what you want to see when you get down below post halving the 50 and then back above it. That's important that we hold the 50 now here for the bulls too. The other level that I wanted to talk about is on the stochastics. What we want to see is the main stochastic line should maintain up here. And then when you want to watch is that the stochastic RSI, it's okay if it drifts down. This actually becomes a very bullish setup, okay, when it does one of these, because ultimately what you want to end up seeing is it comes back up like this. On the weekly, when you get that setup, it actually creates, and I'm talking about back here, back here, and back here. Okay, now if we zoom in on that, okay, if you notice these two areas, when that happens, it's kind of like when you're pulling back on a bow. right? And you launch the arrow. Uh, when this pulls back against the stochastic and then comes back up, a lot of times you're going to take out, especially on the weekly, you're going to take out the previous weekly highs. So that formation is really powerful in the weekly. You saw it here. Bitcoin exploded to the upside. And also here, another formation. Here's the weekly high. You get that pullback on the weekly. Again, this is weekly, so it takes time to play out, right? We're talking a few months, but it plays out. And so when we get that formation, when it pulls back, it's key that this does not pull back with the stochastic RSI. It has to maintain either the level or level off and start to gain momentum up. And then these cross back up. That's usually a great entry, and you're going to aim to take out the previous weekly high. So if we fast forward to today, where we're setting up to see if this does something similar. And ultimately, what I would look for is taking out this level here, 10,434. But I think ultimately it will take out our previous high back in 2019 at this level when we had that Chinese Ponzi fueling this massive pump. And we take out that 13,858, which, by the way, if we take that out, it's going to clear our key level of 11,270 and say goodbye to this area probably for good at that point. All right, our Delta chart. We take a look at what the futures are doing, right? Futures is a hedging activity a lot of times. We're finally out of this range where we poke above, actually this level was based on the previous contract. So we take a look at this level here, this 88 level. That a lot of times has been a area where we get to or poke just above, and it tends to be an area of resistance for Bitcoin. We've trended right out of that. So that's actually another key indication that the sentiment has changed and we're getting a push up. What we want to see now is if this area that we've talked about, these previous highs do reject, we want to see this now become support. And when we pull back to that, it becomes support. So that's key here. Now, of course, all of this really depends on how we are relating to the stock market. So if we go back and look at that, so by and large, there's been a decent correlation with the market. As you can see here, the percentages are a little different, but market goes up, Bitcoin's up, pulls back, Bitcoin pulls back, market goes up, Bitcoin legs up. Well, it's interesting here, though, in today's, Friday's action was that we had a market move down in S&P 500, and Bitcoin really didn't follow suit. I would have expected to see something more along the lines of this, and we didn't get that. It broke off right around here, which was overnight. And once this market started to roll over, you really had your disconnect right about here. And now the markets are closed and Bitcoin's taking off. Normally, this is a good signal for when the markets, if Bitcoin's up, the market tends to gap up. It has been the case. But you also have to keep in mind that when we go through these periods in the stock market where it's a bear cycle or recessionary cycle, things like Bitcoin, gold, silver tend to want to break away from the market before the market truly bottoms. We might be seeing that here. This is a 15-minute chart, so I need to see more confirmation. But if that's the case, then buckle up because Bitcoin's done going down. Even though the economy and we have recessionary, depressionary numbers in the economy and things like that, Bitcoin, if it breaks away, historically, when you see things like stores of value break away from the market like that, they will just take off and that's it. So what we want to see to quantify that as a full decoupling, what we want to see is on the weekly chart, basically this weekly low here of 86.27 or so, that has to stay, and then that has to be the low. You can't breach that. You can have a pullback in here. You can pull back down to say 8,900, 8,800 or something like that, and then see another push higher. You're breaking this trend line. That's going to be your signal that it's decoupled. That's going to be your signal that more than likely there are no more lower lows coming for Bitcoin in this cycle on the weekly basis from these levels. Okay, so very key spot here for Bitcoin. Keep an eye on it. Again, this whole area is where you are accumulating your long-term stuff. I know it's it's more expensive than most would like as far as accumulating, but hey, where this is going and how little of it there is, you just, the math doesn't lie. Just accumulate. You don't have to buy whole Bitcoins. You can buy a little bit here and a little bit there. It adds up. I know people that have been doing that for the last, year and a half, 2 years, and they've gotten whole Bitcoins, and that's plural. And that's big because many people on this planet will never know what that's like because there just won't be enough to accumulate. And most will only own fractions of a Bitcoin. So that's how finite it is. And it's going to get really expensive as such. All right, guys. Well, that's it for this video. Again, if you want to check out our stuff or hang out with us in the trade room, head over to tradelikeagenius.com. Check out our specials. Otherwise, I'll see you guys on the next video. We'll talk about altcoins and the alt market and how that's looking as we get toward the end of alt season. Thanks, guys. I'll catch you on the next video. Bye.
Trade Genius.